Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, December 30th, the second to last, the penultimate trading day of the year. Tomorrow will be the ultimate trading day of the year. And this is Morning Market Movers, where we do some live analysis for day trading. I'm Todd Rich with Nadex. With me is Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple. Not a lot to talk about today. What we would like to go over, certainly there was some interesting opportunities in oil yesterday. We'd like to do a quick recap of that because we may have a similar type of opportunity today with natural gas. So we definitely want to take a look at that oil. We see gold chopping back and forth through $1,800 an ounce. Again, I mentioned nat gas. We got to look at that nat gas setup because that could be the one trade of the day, potentially the one hotspot. And then we'll do a quick recap of where we are with equities. Before Brian and I get into it, I do need to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk. It may not be appropriate for everyone. That any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. As I mentioned, before I flip it over to Brian, oil inventories were yesterday. We told you, do that 35-1 setup going in, check your 30-minute charts a half hour before, 15 minutes, start moving to the 5-minute charts right before the news announcement. Oil inventories came in yesterday. We were expecting a drawdown. There was indeed a drawdown, but a greater drawdown of oil inventories than expected with less. It's a supply demand with less supply out there. We did see this dramatic spike in oil, and then it completely retraced. So if you were just taking a long position in oil and you weren't there right for the trade in that 30-minute window, there was some great trading opportunity. Those binary options, those short duration binary options, created great trading opportunity. You could have had your day right then and then gone and enjoyed the rest of your day. You don't have to sit in front of your screen all day. We've also got oil chopping back and forth. I mean, gold chopping back and forth through 1800. I'm going to flip it over, Brian. I'm going to flip it over to you. I'll let you recap this
Okay.
oil, but then
Yep.
let's talk about natural gas today at 10:30 a.m. Eastern because we're going to
Yeah.
have the nat gas inventory levels, and I can't tell you what's going to happen, but there potentially could be some volatility then, particularly with very thin markets. Lightly
Yeah.
traded markets, we see moves like this, which just create potential opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, so far, looking at kind of the global picture right now, I mean, the pound is still continuing to gain strength. It's up 47 versus the dollar, up 76 versus the yen, and it's pushing the euro pound down 19. So it's still that continued. We raised interest rates, and we're still continuing to kind of reap the benefits of that. Again, I think that's a good lesson going into next year when other countries start to do the same thing. As you said yesterday, the oil number came in lower. The API report was just slightly lower than that, so they were kind of on track, pointing us in the right direction. And oil was quite volatile from it. We talked about having a level if we were able to break through the 75, and we never really got the entry. But what it did do, and we mentioned, and actually we had it drawn over here, not back here. We said if we got that confirmation entry where we push in, kind of come back up, and then don't go as far, that could be a telltale sign to take it long. And again, we drew it on this side, not over here. At 9:30, we kind of hit that bounce, and literally it already started to move. And again, thin trading, it already started to take off, and its peak was literally right when the oil news came out, and then bam, we slammed all the way right back down in that same exact level. So, it was a very very interesting trade setup. We did have the confirmation to go long right beforehand. Actually, it had to kick in right around 10 o'clock, so it was a little bit early, and then you can see a gap, which we really don't have a gap. Again, thin trading is what that's showing us. And
Yep.
again, parabolic move up, parabolic move back down. And again, whether you played the up to down or down to up, either of them are exactly the same trade, basically. And again, we
And
talked
what
about the
was it? That was like
76.65.
what was it?
Dollar 75
A dollar
from
75 range
9:35 to
in
10:30
in
in 1 hour.
30
Yeah.
minutes up and down. I mean, that's Mr. Toad's Wild Ride right there.
Yeah.
Woo!
And again, the retracement took longer. We talk about, if you're doing like the 10 to 12, the shorter contracts, you're looking at really, there's your level of movement in your 10 to 12s, right? it came all the way back down. So had you gotten even into like an out of the money, right? Because it opened right here, even in at the money, you lost on this trade. Again, it's something you got to understand. You're taking these low risks. You're looking for things farther out, but again, you got to be able to capture your profit when you can.
Yeah, that is
Because it
actually
actually,
also a very big lesson in closing positions early.
yeah,
You do not have to hold these positions, even though they're short duration. They've got a short expiration. Uh, you put on a trade, closing it and locking in a profit is very important. It's something that I teach every single time when I speak about binary options, even knockouts and call spreads, even though not knockouts at least will knock you out if it touches one of the boundaries. Call spreads and binary options, close them early. Close them early if you've got a profit and you want to take your profits and move on. And it's also limiting losses. You can always close your position early. You don't have to lose all of it. If you're wrong, you're allowed to cut your losses and move on to the next trade. So
yeah, you can see it right there, guys. I just drew it. There was this opening. There was the opening print as we took off, and then vice versa. There was the closing. So had you even done an at the money, I know people love at the monies because they're like, oh, I'm right more than I'm wrong. This is the type of trade you don't want, right? And holding it to expiration.
you were right, and then you ended up being wrong
Yep.
if you didn't close early.
Yep. And you took all the risk of having that versus taking something out of the money that when it went above, you made 2-3 times the risk that you put into the trade and then watch it come tumbling back down again. And then at the same time, you can take the next 2-hour block in here or just take the daily at that point because it's going to be slower. The standard parabolic retracement move is we huge push down, largest two candles, again, continuous candles because there was the gap in there, right back into an area of buyers. We know that there was an area of buyers sitting right in here, right? Because that's literally where it launched from. So again, it is a level. We knew it was a level before. We were waiting for that level to break, but it served as a buying area for that morning. And at the same time, all you needed to do, not that way, it'd be this way, and you'd be able to throw this on here and your 1 to 3 target to the top side, which is only right there. So it's only halfway. It only needed to move halfway back up again. So take this same box at the same time and say, okay, where was the 12 o'clock candle? 12 o'clock is the red candle there. And you can see at the end of this time frame, it had pushed past your 1 to 3 target to the backside. So not only did you have a pre-news positioning move where you had the news breakout, but then you also had a parabolic move. If you took the parabolic move here back down again, and we had that 65 level, you took it. But if not, you could say, okay, I'm not going to get short here because that's the target for my first trade. But then all of a sudden, when it cranked back down again, now it's strategy number 2. There's a parabolic move. Let's play the parabolic retracement. It leveled, and again, based on the top of a zone that we had buyers confirmed from earlier in the morning, and ran back up. And what did it do? It hit the 67, 65 right there.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
So, yeah, so it's interesting. It really, in reality, it hasn't moved that much from yesterday till today. It's down. It says it's down 0.72. Yesterday we were sitting kind of right in this area. So, that was from the closing. We're up just a little bit. They don't do a 24-hour rollover on these. They do currencies. So, it's one of those things. Watch out for it. But again, the same volatility here we can see over in natural gas today. Natural gas is showing that it's down 1.32 already. But I will say natural gas just bounced off of his zone. So here's what we got now. This is like the insane one this week. I mean, we've had gaps up, pulled back down again, right? Rally back up, gap up. We grabbed the gap yesterday. The Sunday night gap strategy would have worked perfectly fine here for anybody that knows it. Pulled back down again. There's a little gap here, not quite as bad. But then what happened in the European session? The Europeans, and again, let me put this back to 30. I'm like, wait, there's way too many candles here. Europeans kicked this one off right here. And have done nothing but shoot it right down. And what they did is they filled the gap, and now it's bouncing off of the gap. So I don't know if the 1 to 3 is already in there. Let's see. It's probably pretty close. Yeah, 1 to 3 is right there. So it got really, really close and then pulled back. It actually only made it to a 1 to 2.87 with going into news. So we know that buyers definitely slowed it down here. So that's important to kind of watch out for. We also know, and again, I'll bring it back down to 15 to see this one. We also know that it looks like we have some sellers stepping in at this level. So it's starting to give us, some kind of idea of where the buyers and sellers may be for the day. Now what we have to do is play the waiting game, see how it progresses forward a little bit as we get closer to the inventory report. And that inventory report comes in at right here, 10:30. And again, expected to be a much, much bigger down draw, right? Last time it was 255. It's supposed to be down 128. That's kind of a big was just saying, let me pull that back. That's kind of a, I guess there was one here in October for 118. You can see that, you know, this is probably the biggest forecast we've had in close to a year. 105, 149 back in March. Yeah, so there was huge down draws in the beginning of the year, back when I was trying to get propane. But yeah, I don't need it and I'm good. But so what I would say is do the same thing. Go to your 10 threes, 10 fives and ones. I'm sorry, 30 fives and ones.
35
As we
and
get,
ones.
35s and ones as we get
You're
closer. And
you're
actually on the
counting out
15,
cash. I want your
yeah,
20s, 10s, 5s, ones, and
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And actually, on the 15 guys, it would have hit the 1 to 3 to the top side, and it was definitely a valid area where you would have wanted to take your profit target before that. So with it bouncing back and forth now, it'd be interesting. I would say right now, being down 177, you know, there are people with snow now. There are people where it's warm outside. You know, I would say one of those things. There's not kind of a,
We got
you
snow
know,
in Chicago. We got
yeah,
it was finally the first real snow of the year came last night. So
yeah,
by the way, one, I dropped in two different links for those who don't have a place to watch when these news when these news announcements come out. I gave you the daily
mhm,
FX calendar, and then
mhm.
there's also Forex Factory has a calendar on it as well, and you can be monitoring what
That's
the
the one
number
easier.
is as it comes out. It's I mean it'll flash across there. So I gave you
Mhm.
two different things. Now, Brian, we did get a question. You know, what percentage of your binary options trades do you think you generally close early?
Mhm.
Um, we had somebody who said, you know, they close ninety
Pretty much
percent
all.
of them, and
Yeah,
you know,
pretty much all. Because
all of
remember,
them.
a lot of the
Yeah,
binary
isn't that
trades that
funny?
I, yeah, the binary trades that I pretty much set up, I'm typically, like I said, I typically risk anywhere from 15 to say $22 total. So once they get up to that 50, 60 range, I'm typically looking to take them off. There are times where I'll hold it to expiration, but for the most part, with binaries, I take them off at 2 or 3. And like I said, my sweet spot is 15 to say like $22 risk on any of them. I'd much rather take 2 or 3 contracts instead of doing like a 50-50. I'd much rather take 2 or 3 contracts. It's the same as risk as what most people will put on. And then you're able to get, your count scales from there,
Right.
is,
And
is
so, and by
basically
the
what
way, yeah, if you didn't catch it, you know, you could buy one binary option for 50. You know, that's a 50% probability of it finishing in the money if you buy it. And if you sell one at 50, there's a 50% probability that you know it's got to equal 100. Uh, versus buying one, say at 20, there's a 20% chance that it's going to finish above, 80% chance it's going to finish below at that moment in time. That's just priced by the market. But if you've got a trade set up and it goes your way and it goes to at the money, you know, if it's at the money, it's going to be trading around 50 again. So
Mm,
instead of buying one at 50, Brian's buying two at 20. And when it gets to 50, just takes them off.
mm.
Made $30 on each one of them, but he did it on two of them.
Yeah,
So
and
you can
literally,
see
I
how
don't
that
I don't
works.
watch it. Yeah, and I don't and don't forget, guys, to do things like this, especially around news time, because you see something like this. I mean, just like a really crazy wick like this, where it spikes up and spikes back down again. If you're waiting for it to come up and get to that price, and then you go to hit the button, a lot of times it may have already pulled back again. Use the opposite side of the trade function, right? Use the profit taking function in there. It's easy. You just, I mean, literally, when you put it on, yep, I like that, and then immediately put the profit target on there, and that's it. If it spikes up and it only hits it for half of a second, you're gonna, it'll initiate the trade for you, and you're out, and you're like, "Woo, look at that!" It was a literally, it
Your
was a,
order will be in there, and that is
yeah,
there is that set profit target goal. So
mhm.
Brian will buy one at 20, and then he'll just go and put the set
Yeah, you
profit
just put it
target
on
for
there.
$30,
Hmm.
and it'll put that limit order out there and have somebody, you know, if it
Yeah.
spikes, right?
Like I said, yeah, it could be a one tick up and sell above it and then come right back down again. Too many people are trying to sit there with market orders and be like, wait, I'm going to click it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to try to get it. I'm going to get it. And then all of a sudden it goes back and it rolls and you have another candle that you're like, wait, it shouldn't be going down. And you've lost all your profit in the trade. So
And
I'm a big believer, set and forget everything.
yeah.
You never know what's going to happen,
And
so
conversely, you know, if that's buying one looking for a spike. If you're looking for something to drop
yeah,
down, you sell an 80, right? You sell an 80, which means your risk is only 20 because it can only go up to 100. You sell it at an 80, um, and you're putting on $20 worth of risk, and you look to buy it back at 50 for when it
mm,
comes down the other way. So
Yep. I want to end us off on this one today. Guys, watch the indices. There's a couple interesting little setups here. It is the rare day where the VIX is up and all the indices are up, as well as the dollar is up. And again, the dollar is spiking in the last, I don't know, hour or so. NQ is an interesting spot, and it's continuing to drive back down again. But it is at that psychological number at 16,500. As you can see, drawing yesterday's high to low fib wise, we're right around the 50% retracement level right now. We did have a tested level coming in really yesterday, right at 9:30, and that craziness at 9:30 yesterday at a level of basing, it was right around the 61.8, and we just touched that this morning. It's continuing to push down. It may be a little bit late to get into the trade now. That always happens where we have a trade set up, and then as we start talking, it starts to move. Only reason I'm saying it is because Apple, if you look at the Apple chart, had a little bit of a gap up in the overnight, but is now starting to kind of grind back down again. Tesla is also in the red, also with that same type of trajectory, heading back to the downside. And again, I can use that channel tool there to make it look really, really fancy, but it's also kind of in a downtrend. And with the VIX kind of starting to not go crazy, but it is starting to kind of creep up a little bit. It's kind of stabilizing at an area where, and again, it's not an asset with buyers or sellers, but it is in an area where it's kind of popping. And when you look at the news out there to support any of this, you talk about thin trading. Everybody's talking about thin trading, thin trading, thin trading. This gentleman says the U.S. dollar resumed its retreat overnight as markets continue to price in finishing Omicron fears thanks to low hospitalizations. I'm not exactly sure where he's getting that. I know in Maryland yesterday or 2 days ago, 19 is supposed to be our cap in Maryland. We were at 2,000, so we have multiple hospitals in emergency status. So I'm not sure what he's talking about with low hospitalizations because Maryland we're like 100 beds right now above where we're supposed to be, or where our quote maximum limit is. We're above
Right.
that, so not sure. And again, like I said, we're going to start seeing if there was a spread over the Christmas holiday. If you think about it, Christmas was the 25th.
It's going to be the first 2 weeks of the year.
Yeah, 3 to 5 days is what the incubation is because they said Omicron hits faster. That's the 30th. That's right now. And I know right now I live right across the street from the hospital on my way out. The line has been out the door for testing and every day this week. So I'm not sure what he means with the hospitalizations.
Is look, airlines are still canceling thousands of flights. And the reason they're canceling them is because they have no one to staff them. And the reason I mean, to staff them is because all the flight attendants, pilots, support staff, personnel on the ground, they're all testing positive, and that's why they've cut their, they cut the isolation period from 10 days down to 5 days because they need them back so much quicker. Because if there's no one, if you can't, it takes a lot of people to operate airlines, and they don't have any people because they're all getting sick.
Yeah, so I don't know what he means by low hospitalizations. Hospitalizations are higher because so many more people have it. I mean, the one positive note on all this is it seems like it burns through the system much, much faster. It hits earlier, it burns through faster, and now we're seeing out of Israel that they're saying that Omicron is providing, basically a boosted effect and protection against Delta and other strains.
If you get Omicron, right, you're getting some immunity to Delta, because it doesn't always work that way, right? You can get COVID. Every single one of these variants, you can get COVID.
You can get the flu and get it a second time if you don't recover, or you can get pneumonia. It can roll into something else. So so I don't know. We'll see. This next 5-day time frame is going to be a big day or a big time, and then again we'll see what happens on New Year's. Everybody that didn't get Omicron over the Christmas break, they're like, whatever. I mean, their big thing is like, we have a New Year's Eve party. It's like, okay, just be cautious. So I know a lot of people that are hoping to get a negative result before their New Year's Eve parties. They're like, I'm hoping to get a negative so I can come. And then the CDC
That's assuming you can even get a test. Even the rapid tests that you can get over the counter, finding them.
You can't get them in Maryland anymore. They're out. They're completely sold out. Everybody's calling. And like I said, the ones that were given out, I think they lasted like 12 minutes or something like that. Even though only 2 people, you can only get 2 tests a family. I think they were gone in like less than 15 minutes. My wife said so. Even the ones that Biden was like, we're sending tests to everybody.
Well, they got already out. They got to get them, and it's going to take some time. Yep. All right.
Yeah.
So well, without a lot to talk about, we actually found a way to fill some of this time with education. Really great education on how to set up a trade and how to actually work the mechanics through a trade. Definitely interesting on that set profit target functionality. I think there's a consensus here that people realize how important that is because the markets can move very, very quickly. With that, any questions for Nadex, please email us customer service at nadex.com. Any questions for Brian, catch him at support@keeptradingsimple.com. We did talk about that oil trade yesterday. I mean, again, thin markets, lots of volatility. Check out Nat Gas today. I gave you 2 links for being able to monitor that inventory release, one for dailyfx.com, one for Forex Factory. You could choose which one you like. But we've got 10:30 a.m. this Eastern today. Nat gas inventories. Don't know what's going to happen, but there could be some interesting volatility there again with the thin markets. Brian and I will be back tomorrow for the last trading day of the year, and then we get the weekend before we start. I can't believe it, 2022.
I said 2023 yesterday. It's okay. I'm already ahead.
Yeah.
I've already written the year off.
Did you already write?
I told him yesterday. I was like, "Hey, 2023 will be a good year." Like, it's 2022. I was like, "It is really
I
okay."
still can't believe COVID-19, and then we're going into 2022. Somebody said, "Wait, I thought it was the 19th variant." I'm like, "No,
No,
it's
it was year. That's why. Yeah,
the
yeah,
year."
yeah.
Oh my God. And it's just crazy, just crazy. All right. Well, good luck in the markets today, everyone. And Brian and I will catch you again tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for joining.